I wouldn't recommend anybody doing something just for the case of making money. But if you have a higher purpose, it's always worth it, even if you wouldn't succeed directly. I'm just the black sheep from that point of view. Yeah. No, I'm thinking. We actually say, well, I'm gonna think about that if I can. Entrepreneurship is impact. I'm Onni Eriksson and I'm coming from Helsinki, Finland. I'm a CTO and a co-founder of a company called AIATELLA. We automate manual tasks such as measurements from medical imaging. So I met my current co-founder when he moved to Finland at the start of COVID, and I met him through a hackathon actually. He had experience in his research in the UK, like seeing the problem with the cardiovasculature, that the analyzing of the images is a really complex, slow and manual process, and it really needs updating. So that's the problem that we started working on together. We had a lot of mindstorming, of course, in the beginning, and came up with different ideas on how we can actually solve this. Like the initial idea, I tried applying my previous experience in 3D printing, wasn't that applicable, but we pivoted and found then the right thing that the doctors actually want. Of course, this has been a long journey. I've been doing this almost for 4 years now. There's no entrepreneurs in my family. I'm just the black sheep from that point of view. My first business idea when I was around 9 years old, and I figured out that I could make paper origami airplanes. And the sheet of paper was 1 cent, the paper airplane I could maybe sell for 20 cents. So that was my first big business idea that I started making and trying to get up and running. So that business, of course, didn't end up being the next paper SpaceX or anything else. But I think that sparked the spark really in me. And from there on, I did a lot of different projects, from building drones to different robotics and coding. And my first company then was actually in 3D printing after I built some 3D printers and noticed that there is a lot of need for custom 3D designs and some prints and different prints that I have in mind. From an experience point of view, like my first company, which was 3D printing company, was a success. Of course, it didn't grow up as a normal startup, but from what I needed it to do and growing organically, printing at my living room, it did what I needed to do and taught me a lot of things that have been very useful in my journey going forward. So my core idea with even the 3D printing business, of course, I wanted to help people even with that, but I knew the limitations, and it was printing plastic in the end. So when I met my co-founder and I realized I could actually impact lives, potentially save some lives if we're successful, it was a very easy jump, and I decided to stop that business and jump onto this new problem. So we actually saved our first lives last November, and this happened during a tech demo that we did at Slush in Helsinki. We were showing the new capabilities with utilizing our technology in ultrasound imaging. And we are offering preventative screening for anybody coming across. Turns out we actually found some people that had very serious disease that they had no idea about. And by finding that disease, these people were able to get treatment and the potential stroke was prevented. In order to visualize and see what's going on within your cardiovascular system, we need to take medical imaging. That can be MRIs, CTs, or ultrasound imaging. But in order to diagnose you, someone needs to read these images and do a lot of manual measurements. In the case of an aorta, it can be over 10 measurements that they need to do and write those down. And if there's any historical imaging of the patient, they need to check how have the measurements been growing. This is a very manual and slow process, and it can take anywhere from 20 to up to 60 minutes for the radiologist to read and analyze a single scan. My co-founder, he can talk to doctors, but I can talk tech. So I have a co-founder who has more of the biomedical scientist background, and I have the engineering background. And then we have multiple employees. I think there's a total of 7 of us now working full-time, and we are actively hiring as well. There's a lot of different types of technologies trying to come into the market. We have a lot of classification tools that just basically look at an image and then tell you that, okay, there's an 80% chance that there is something here. The thing is, those aren't, you really can't trust them so much. Do you really want an AI to make the decision on your treatment? So what I do believe is the real future and the real solution is actually just quantifying a lot of the things, replacing the boring parts of the radiologist jobs. For example, in our case, when they don't have to do anymore all of those manual measurements, writing those down in a report and comparing those, that already saves majority of their time, and they can actually take a little bit time from there and spend it where it really matters, with the patient, looking at different anomalies and planning the treatment rather than just clicking on a computer all the time. I'd say the toughest challenge in a way has been really just trusting yourself and what you're doing is actually the correct thing to do. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, and for a long time we bootstrapped. For a long time we had no kind of outside investors were telling that, oh, you're not really solving the right problem, because like they didn't necessarily understand it properly. What kept us going there was, of course, well, my co-founder and the other team members, but mainly actually the problem and the actual users. We kept on very tightly talking with our users, with the radiologists, and they just kept on saying that we want your solution, there's nothing else. And please bring it to us. Sometimes it was hard, like when you couldn't pay wages for multiple months or the money was running out that you couldn't pay wages for the employees. It is very hard. But if you have a bigger mission, making something more important than just money for yourself, it's not about the money. If you can get enough to survive, then you keep on doing it. So we are finally about to receive the approvals soon in the FDA and UKCA, and we really see this as the next big step. Well, after this we can start selling and scaling up, and we do anticipate quite significant sales in the UK and US. Of course, while the money is not the main thing, it does help in scaling and getting our offering to as many people as possible to save as many lives as possible. I've had to learn presentation skills, I've had to learn, well, talking to people, managing people, and I'd say a lot like as well, like talking about emotions, talking about the hard stuff, and also being able to make hard choices. Like, I feel like that was a very hard one for me. Like, sometimes there are choices that you just wouldn't like to make, but you kind of have to. And like, you know yourself as well that it's better for long term. And I think that's one of the most important skills I've gotten in the entrepreneurial journey. I'd say one of the hard choices was, for example, choosing how I spend my time. So of course, like, not to burn out, I couldn't spend everything on just working and school, and I also wanted to see my close ones. So kind of finding that balance and deciding what to really cut. In my case, my studies have taken a lot longer than expected, so that's been one place where I've been cutting from. So currently I'm studying information networks in Aalto University in Espoo, Finland. It's kind of a mix of engineering, business, and a lot of different, even some philosophy courses, which have been my favorite. But overall, balancing the school and work, it's not easy. In the beginning, I was trying to do everything at the same time, and that resulted me in almost burning out a couple of times. Really pulling back from those experiences, I realized that, okay, I have to prioritize some things. Some things don't need to be done like on a diamond level, and it's okay for also some things to take more time than they could. This is actually my second time applying to GSEA. I think the first time I didn't know too much what is it going to be about, but as soon as I learned more about it, it seemed like a really good opportunity to, first of all, show the work that I'm doing to the world, hopefully inspire some people, but also to meet other student entrepreneurs. And I think that's the kind of community that I've gotten to know back then, and especially now, has been one of the best things about this. And that's why I came back as well, to meet new amazing people, share our learnings, and make new friends. Last time I made it to the regional finals, which were in Istanbul, and that was a really cool experience. That was like one of the first, well, the first actually pitching trip that I ever did, and like everything from meeting the EO members for the first time, hearing about the organization, and everything else was quite a mind-blowing experience. Now coming to Berlin, I've liked that this has been a longer stay, and we've had a lot more time to see the city and spend time with each other. And in a way, it felt like coming back to a family of people that you don't see that often. I'd say GSEA is growth because it really helps you grow as a person. You meet other people, you get a lot of new learnings, and I think that's what describes it the best. It's something that I've learned and heard from a lot of people as well, is that if you're stepping into entrepreneurship and even in your work life, doing something meaningful is the way to go. You will live a happier life, more meaningful life, and you will have a much better way going there. I wouldn't recommend anybody doing something just for the case of making money. But if you have a higher purpose, it's always worth it, even if you wouldn't succeed directly.